Question was, what is the initial cut called that I make room for the back end of the blade on the bandsaw while cutting curves? So what it's talking about is on the bandsaw, what is the first cut that you make when you're cutting curves? So the answer for that is the relief cut. So again, if we have our bandsaw, let's scroll forward here quick. Here I have these curves, and what I'm doing right now is I'm making those initial cuts, or the relief cuts, and what that's going to do is as I go ahead and I cut along this black line, that's going to leave room for the back end of the blade so that I can make that tight corner. If at any point too, what ends up happening is if this is a long straight cut, say instead of this line that to be cut, or this design I should say is going the width of the board, if it runs the length of the board, say I don't have my curve until about this spot right here and I come in from this direction, what that's going to allow me to do is once I come here, hit that initial relief cut, it's going to pop out that waist section and I can then start from there. I don't have to, it basically acts as like a checkpoint. I don't have to start all the way back here again, or if I mess up, I don't have to shut off the machine, back it all the way out, and then come back in from another direction. What those relief cuts does is it ends up giving you, like I said, room for the back end of the blade so you can make tighter turns and it won't snap or take the blade off the track. But also, it'll give you a chance that if you're running off on the wrong side of the line, or if you're not making a correct cut, you can kind of have a section to stop, get back on track, and then continue moving forward. The parts that you'll need to know for tomorrow's safety test, as well as the practices itself, you need to know that this is the fence up here. You have the guard as well. Okay, there it goes. All right, so what I'm doing right now is I'm adjusting the guard. You want to make sure that's no more than a 1/4 inch or less than a finger's width above your material. And what that does is it not only protects your fingers from potentially being cut by the blade, but again, it shortens that distance between the guide wheels. You have guide wheels up here in the top part of the guard and underneath as well. So those guide wheels, like I showed you earlier, is they help keep your blade straight, because the higher I lift this guard up, the more I can flex that blade back and forth. When you're making cuts, again, make relief cuts along curve parts, you want to stay about 1/8 to 1/16 inch away from your line. So meaning the line that you draw, you want to stay on the waist side. So on this part right here, you would be on the left-hand side. I'd want to keep my blade 1/8 to 1/16 of an inch away from that line. Oop, this froze. Why I would do that is so I can end up cutting, sanding that off on a spindle or disc sander, or by hand. I can sand that off and get it down to the line, because there's going to be marks where I kind of go back and forth, make some grooves and everything, and the machine itself makes cuts, especially along curves. So what I want to do is, again, stay about a 1/16 to 1/8 inch away. When you saw there, what I just did is I didn't necessarily hit the relief cut, so I had to stop it, wait for the machine to come to a complete stop, and then I could back it out. So before you back out at any turns, you want to make sure any curve or long straight cuts, so that's a big key, is curves or long straight cuts, you want to shut the machine off and then back it out. Reason being is if it does pinch and twist at all, it's not as likely to come off of the track. Okay. So here, what I did is I turned it back on and I went in from the other way to continue making my cut and finish that off. So again, you can still see that black line right there. I saved that. Other key points or parts that you'll need to know, like I said, you have your fence, you have your on-off switch, you have your upper wheel guard or your pulley fence up here, Okay, so this is just your upper wheel. The actual motor itself is down here. If at any times this breaks or snaps, what you want to do is make sure that you shut the machine off and wait for it to come to a complete stop. Then I'll come over. So if you hear something snap or ting right now, just don't worry about it, shut it off, and then I'll be right there to come and look at the situation. That's pretty much it. You guys, basically, like I said again, make sure that that guard is about an 1/8 inch to a 16, or an 1/8 inch to a 1/4 inch, no more than a 1/4 inch above your material, so you can protect your fingers from there, and then also guide the blade along as well. Just as a quick review, I'm just going to show this video really quick. That when you're doing, remember when you're sanding, okay, you want to go with the grain. So I can play this. It's value.
Try to find it. Reveal it.
Okay.
Every carb counts. Why are you smiling? Don't smile.
I'm not smiling. I'm just, I'm
It
excited.
isn't like hacking a piece of ice. It takes patience and
I
finesse.
already. I'm trying. Just give me the tools, please. Sheesh. Okay, come on. Thank you.
Here we go. What are you doing? Yeah. Look, if you're going to do it, you do it right. All right, good. First of all, with the grain. With the grain. You see what I'm doing here? You let the tool do the work. You see? Just like you're riding a wave. You let the wave do the work. You don't fight the wave. You can't fight these big waves, cub. Whoa.
Okay, so with the grain, so when we're sanding, especially you want to be going with the grain, so we're not putting those scratches in here. Again, we talked about grit, so here's actually a close-up of sandpaper, and all that is like silica sand or granite or onyx or something adhered to the actual paper, so it's basically just sand glued to a piece of paper, sandpaper. And what that is, you can see here on the left and the right, you have a coarse grit, and on the right, you have a finer grit. So you have your coarse grit here. You can see it looks a lot more mountainy. There's a lot bigger gaps. The actual granite particles themselves are bigger in diameter, whereas this is smaller in diameter. So what they're going to do is these are obviously going to put bigger scratches in it, and these are going to put finer scratches, just like the glaciers, how we got from Wisconsin. We got the majority of our landscape. Okay, so you have those big boulders and everything. Those are going to leave long, big scrapes, or those C's if you're using an orbital sander. And then last, you want to start from low to high, so that when it comes time to it, you will end up putting finer scratches in.